A Horse Called Bear is a pretty good film and definitely quite emotional. I also want to praise it for breaking the stereotype because this is a film about a horse and our protagonist is a boy. And I say this with no hate for the many, many, many films that I love to watch where a female protagonist, usually a teenager, goes through a difficult time and connects with a horse and goes on this journey of self-discovery and a lot of emotions. But here we have Ethan, and I'm not saying it's the only film about a horse where the protagonist is a boy, but there definitely aren't many of them. So I really praise it for that. And in terms of Ethan's story, it's quite emotional. It's not a perfect film, but it's pretty good. This was released in 2015. It's directed by Daniel Knudsen and it's written by Penny Carlisi. And it stars Nicholas Ryan Gibbs as Ethan. And at the start of the film, Ethan loses his mother. It's a very strong start. And he discovers that his mother had a horse called Bear. And he goes to visit his family and spend time with this horse and connect with this horse. And there are a lot of questions, of course. How is he dealing with things emotionally? Obviously, he's still going through a lot. Will he keep the horse? What's the future of the horse going to be like? And we have other characters he meets along the way. And it's generally a pretty good film. I think the narrative works really well. As I said, it gets quite emotional. I'd say from the very beginning, right throughout it, the emotions are always right on the surface. And that means it's not the easiest watch. It's not lighthearted. It is very heavy. But I do think it's very moving and very well done. Bear is gorgeous. It absolutely gorgeous horse. The other characters as well, really interesting. No problems there. The only thing that I didn't like is that some of the acting is very wooden. Not from our leads, but from our supporting characters, some of the acting is not great to the point where, well, actually, that's not fair to say. I was going to say to the point where the young children in this are better than some of the adults are at acting. But that would sound like the children aren't very good. But actually, even if the adults were great, the children would still be great. I think the young children in this gave a very realistic, believable performance. But some of the other acting is not great. But as I said, from our leads, it's not too bad at all, so no problems there. And in general, it's a nice story. It's emotional. It is quite heavy to watch, but I'd say it's worth it. And as I said, I've seen so many films, and I enjoy them, where a young female protagonist connects with a horse. And it's nice to have a similar story of a young person going through a difficult time, but with a male protagonist. It's just a little bit different. And it also helps to show that anybody can connect with horses. They're not just, obviously, a gender stereotype is that little girls like horses. And yeah, I was a little girl who liked horses. I did do horse riding very, very briefly, not for very long at all. But that being said, I think it's nice to show a story that's maybe similar in some ways, but with some differences as well. And it definitely makes it stand out a little bit more. I thought A Horse Called Bear was an emotional story, a well-executed narrative with some very well-written characters, a beautiful horse, and some good acting. The music's fine, camera work's fine, lighting's fine. We have a lot of gorgeous outdoor scenery. It's apparently filmed in Michigan. And in general, for the most part, can't really fault it. I'd say A Horse Called Bear. It's a pretty good experience. And if it sounds like it might appeal to you, then of course I'm happy to recommend it.